What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MyMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today, I've got something that's a little bit slow, a little bit confusing. Some might even say it's an Eephus. This is my review of Eephus. This movie does not have audio description, but I felt motivated to review the film, which has a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, uh, did I like it? Without audio description, is there something here? Is there anything? I think it's important to ask those questions because, as a blind film critic reviewing movies, uh, I think there are people out there who are blind and low vision who ask themselves these questions when there's no audio description provided for a film. Is it worth it? Especially if there's a family member that wants to go see it. So it's important to have these points of views. So I'd like to thank the studio rep that blew me off when I asked for the screener of this. I was originally sent an offer to screen the film in advance, and I mentioned audio description. And I kind of got ghosted, which is okay. I like whatever, but I'm here watching Eephus now. So I was like, this is a pointless endeavor for you. At some point, this movie's going to be released, and I'm going to put a review of it up. So I don't know, you can have it now or later. So later, um, this movie's directed by Carson Lund, who worked on Christmas Eve at Miller's Point, which feels like he did. Feels like he directed that movie, but he just DP'd it, and it's everything it's everything that I kind of expected it to be. It's the basic plot of the movie is that we're in a small town in Massachusetts, and the baseball field is being repurposed to build a new middle school, and so they're going to be closing it down and bulldozing the baseball field that's been there, and these guys have been getting together and playing baseball, and you get community out of that. You get people who come together. I grew up in a small town, I get it. And it captures that small town feel, that small town vibe. Supposedly this film takes place in the 90s, but it could really take place in whatever. That's just sort of a non-specific time. Generally, when people do this in the 90s, it means they just don't have characters sitting there scrolling on their phones and trying to do one for the gram. That's generally what they try to do. And Christmas Eve at Miller's Point did that too, where they set themselves early enough to where it felt like it really could be any time as long as people just put their cell phones down. So Eephus is a group of middle-aged men. There's nobody really here in the cast. It's like a massive standout in terms of a star. It's sort of an assembly of character actors. There's a Red Sox player and a Red Sox announcer that are among the cast members, and some other interesting selections that feel specifically and personally selected by Carson Lund to fill out his ensemble. Like, he had to invite them in so that they could be part of this. I thought there was a lot about this that's really smart in like how they assembled the movie, because it almost feels like if the Sandlot grew up and those kids found out that their Sandlot was going away, what would they do? Well, they would go have one last game. Like, if we had a Sandlot legacy sequel, that's what it should be. It should be people doing Eephus. Eephus should be the legacy sequel to the Sandlot. Where, the Sandlot is getting destroyed, so we are going to go have one last game on the Sandlot. There's so much to unpack here. Carson Lund has made so many smart choices, first of all, by choosing a baseball field, because they reference that there is a soccer field. It's not the one that's being destroyed. Baseball is supposed to referred to constantly as America's pastime. I think it's a little bit more popular than people give it credit for, but still, it was the one that was selected. You have just the selection of Eephus, this sort of very specific pitch that sort of starts off slow and you don't really know where it's going. It kind of bamboozles you. And that's supposedly how the pitcher gets the strike. And it's a real thing. And then you have a pitcher in the film that's actually trying to achieve an Eephus like before the day is over. This pitch that's you know was perfected by a pitcher, but not necessarily the easiest pitch to do or pull off. And you've got I love the choice of it building a middle school, because if it was anything else, then it would be a film about um, the commercialization of small town America, right? The industrialization, or however they choose to do it, whether it's a Walmart or a factory, it just depends on what that is that they could be putting there. Because then the movie wouldn't be taking place on a baseball field. It would take place with those characters going to like rally and fight down at town hall and be like, we don't need no stinking Walmart here. We need our baseball field. you know, that's that's where that movie would go, is to that. It feels like Americana, feels like a slice of Americana. As a blind person, I'm pretty certain that this is a majority white cast, and that's how you pull out that Americana feel, is by making it feel like it's set in a very specific, like, homogenized Dick Van Dyke Father Knows Best type setting. My Three Sons, that kind of just like how any one of those could have aged out over a course of time. And what would those characters look like as they age up? What do they go off and do on the weekends? Sometimes they just go hang out at the baseball field. And it does feel like some characters just hang out at the baseball field. There are some that just kind of sit on the bleachers and watch. There's a reference to the scoreboard, and somebody asks about the score, and they're like, that's from 1972. Like, the scoreboard hasn't been updated in years. So it's an interesting, very specific set of scenes. You've got the little girl that sings "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," which is so specific to baseball, and specifically, generally, the seventh inning stretch. So, yeah, I feel like they have everything here. It feels like it takes place over the course of one day. Like, it could have all been shot in one day, too, because of the passage of time. And eventually it becomes night, and they talk about how they're losing daylight. They're losing balls. Apparently, do they not have outfielders? I don't know how that works. So that's one of the things where audio description definitely would have helped, because I didn't conceptually understand. I was like, are your old middle-aged men too lazy to go get the balls? Every time you pitch, does it just, if it gets hit, is it just gone? Like, well, I would solve the problem about not having baseballs. So I didn't understand how they were losing. They had to bring buckets of baseballs. I was like, what? But I mean, I can understand having spares in case you knock one the hell out of there. Like, but I don't think these middle-aged men are knocking baseballs the hell out of there. It's enough to get rid of that many baseballs. Yeah, so just sort of a creative use of being able to keep the field lit. And you got the one guy who's his family's there, and he's like, "Oh, just stay for another second. I'm up next." That excitement that he wants his family to be there as a part of it. And sort of the reflection later on when somebody else mentions to him, like, "Why are you the only one who has family here?" And because he thinks, like, "Oh, I somehow let my family down," or whatever. But then it's revealed that he's the only one that actually has family, which, again, is sort of like, well, why don't the other guys have family members? They don't really talk about that. I mean, it's just sort of interesting that it's a reflection upon the character and upon the guy who's like, wait a minute, you're right. My family came. My family showed up. It really is that small town feel and vibe, and actually having this connection between this group of guys and who get out there on the weekends, and this is how they get their physical activity, and you're going to take this physical activity away from them, and I don't know, what are they going to do after this? Probably nothing. So yeah, I grew up in a small town, and I know where my small town's baseball park is, and I understand conceptually the idea of, because oftentimes these are in parks that are owned by the city, so it's easier for them to repurpose that land into a middle school than it would be for them to buy more land. So if you're on a budget, if you're a small town on a budget, it's easier for you to repurpose land like this for a school than it is to buy more land. So I think they just got shit out of luck on that one. But it is a good movie. Is it easy to understand? No, it's not. It's a weird choice though, because for blind and low vision users, if you want to watch this without audio description, because you're a huge baseball fan, you need to know that without the audio description, you're not going to know like who's throwing the pitch, who's hitting, who's on base, who's running to what base. I mean, all the basic things that you probably would realize that you wouldn't know if you were watching a baseball game with no announcer, because that's kind of what it's like. So all of those key issues are missing, plus the movie fact of being able to track cast members and who's speaking and how many people are even in this movie, because I don't even know the answer to that question without looking at IMDb as to how many people were even on the field at any given period of time. It becomes a little bit nebulous without audio description. So, I mean, there are reasons to want the accessibility, but it does kind of feel like if you just want to pop this on, like if you want to reminisce because you lived through this, because you lived on a baseball field, or your parent or your dad did, and you want to relive small town baseball life, this is the best way to do it. It's got a feel to it. It feels like the kind of movie that Kevin Costner wanted to make, a real tribute to baseball, the whole time. Because he made a lot of films. He was either making movies about baseball or he was making movies about the West. I'm surprised he never made a Western about baseball. But yeah, it feels like the kind of movie that he would have wanted to make or appear in or star in. I'm surprised. I don't know if Carson knows. He probably could have just called Kevin Costner and dude would have come out and been like, I'm here. Baseball movie? What? I'm here. Hello. Can I be in this? Yeah, it's that harkening past time thing. It's slow, and it meanders a little bit, and then by the end of it, you're just like, wow, I watched that. It's not a long movie. It's like 90 minutes of my life, but it was fine. Like I had a good time. I don't think it's the best movie of the year. I think that's the funny thing about the Rotten Tomatoes score is it just means 100% of critics agree that this movie is good. Not that everybody's running around giving it 100 out of 100. It is not a 100 out of 100. It's not like a generationally life-changing movie, but certainly it is one that will be remembered at the end of the year. Some people may even try to float it in the Oscar consideration. I don't know what for. Screenplay? I honestly have no idea what this would be floated for. It's very odd because it doesn't really have a score to stand on. It doesn't really have, the performances. There isn't really a lead here. It kind of equally balances. It's Christmas Eve and Miller's Point is really kind of the closest comp. And because it does kind of feel like an amalgamation of people and not really like one distinct story that we're following, one distinct person over the course of this time. So I liked Eephus. I do wish it had audio description and accessibility, but I don't know what the fear was in having me watch this. I sometimes I do have to torpedo films, and I backed off of. I got a screener for a movie that I did not realize was not in the English language, and the rep reached out to me and was like, "Hey, did you have a chance to post a review?" And I was like, "So here's the thing." When I asked, I did not realize that your movie was not in English, and I'm not posting a review because that seems like it's unnecessary for me to post a review, for me to post an early review before the movie's released of it being a film internationally that has no accessibility. So I just chose in that moment to not tear it down in advance of the movie's release. And, I mean, I manage it. So I would have done the same thing for Eephus. It's an independent movie with a cast that I'm not, immediately familiar with. This isn't Ocean's 11. Uh, so I don't know what the budget here is. It would be nice if they had budgeted for audio description um, for its theatrical release. It's not that expensive. It really isn't. I mean, I think people think that I'm asking for like the world when I ask for accessibility for blind and low vision users. It's just not that expensive of a thing for a feature length film to have audio description that will then go into all of the theaters across America. I've seen some movies that don't even go theatrical that have audio description. So somehow they managed the budget for that. These like straight to video on demand movies like Fog of War. Why does Fog of War have audio description but not Eephus? I don't understand. So, yeah, uh, but I, I guess I don't really I call them floating grades because with the idea that if there was audio description, it could change. I give this a floating grade of an A minus. That's probably about where it is for me. I don't think it's not quite up to an A, but it's been kind of a slow year. That'd be high enough to say it's in my top 10 of the year thus far. Um, and if you want to check it out, check it out. It's not the worst thing to watch without audio description, but it's also not the best thing to watch without audio description. There's a lot here that is not intelligible without audio description. So, I have to point that out. So, um, but I think there are a lot of really smart choices here, and Carson Lund, I'd be interested to know what he did next. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.